Stay tuned guys, because in this video we're going to be giving you the inside scoop on how to evaluate the prices of property. Good day guys, and a great big welcome to the channel. I want to start this video by sharing some massive gratitude. We hit 50, and just in aid of the fact that we hit 50 subscribers, I decided to put this video together where I'm actually going to be answering the question from one of my coaching clients. I thought to myself to do a video a little bit different to the vlog style videos and the core content videos, and do something more a bit like a workshop where I can basically give you guys some insights into how I actually evaluate numbers, specifically on a property, looking at comparables. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. Now, if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. If you like the content of this video, feel free to press like and share this video with your community if you know other people that are going to actually get value from watching this content. If you want to keep up to date with every single video that we drop, feel free to hit the bell notification, and that will keep you up to date with all of our content as and when we actually release it on the channel. I know you'll find this video of value, enjoy it, and basically utilize it to move forward in your own property journey. So without further ado, this was the actual question.
I'm a bit confused about the prices on the link that I sent from RightMove, because the prices seem to vary. The 3-bedroom houses, one was last sold in 2010 for 83,000. The other one is terrace, but they seem to be around the same area. This one's supposed to be the one with the driveway, garage, and front of back garden. And the most expensive so far was 83,000 in 2010. However, the variation between the prices is a bit confusing. For instance, there's one three-bed place that was sold in 2006 for 73,000, I think it is. I understand prices are a bit not very buoyant at the moment, but I'm not sure how to read those figures. Please help.
Okay guys, so as you heard, the coachee is basically struggling with an understanding of how to actually value a property that they're actually looking at in terms of securing in order to sell on to another investor. Now, one of the key things that came up in that actual message was 2010, they found a price for another property similar, and 2006 they found a price for another property similar. Now guys, you all know both of these years are close to 10 years plus away from the current date. So what that basically means is these, in my opinion, are what we might call a scratch, and as a result they are not comparables. And I come across this question again and again: Samuel, if you don't have any recent comparables, what can you do, or what do you do? Before I go into how we're going to actually do this, I want to share with you why you actually need to know this yourself. The first reason I want to share with you that you actually need to be able to compare and evaluate numbers and contrast numbers on properties that you're interested in buying, or at least sourcing, securing and selling onto other people, is because of very simply confidence. That's the first reason why. Now, if you're going to invest in a property opportunity yourself, you need to have the confidence that you know you're buying at a price that is reasonable to that market value, or in some cases actually below that market value. And you cannot have that confidence unless you have a system or an approach to understand how to actually analyze the numbers based on comparable properties in the area. The second reason is confidence as well. But this isn't only about confidence in yourself and knowing I'm confident in order to go and take care of that transaction at that price, but it's secondarily in the sense that if you're the kind of person who's packaging property opportunities and selling them on to other investors, then you need to have confidence that you're not selling on a bad deal to other investors. And that secondary confidence additionally comes from the simple fact that you have an understanding of how to evaluate and compare and contrast numbers. Now, the third reason why you actually need to know this is, again, quite simple. It's because it's going to help you understand the particular market you're looking at. Now, if this is an area where you're consistently looking at properties, it will serve you to actually learn the kind of comparable property prices in that local area. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. So to answer the question how I actually do this, we'll jump onto the computer in a minute, but I'm going to share with you the concept that we basically use, which is slightly outdated because me and my team devised this a number of years ago, and over the time it's basically become outdated, but I'll update it as I go along for you. And we use a model which is basically called UGS. So U G Z. Okay, now at the time we actually devised this model, U stood for up my street. And if you're in the UK and if you've been doing property for a while, you might be familiar with this website or with the old website, upmystreet.co.uk. Now, some of you will actually know that upmystreet.co.uk was actually purchased by Zoopla a number of years ago, which is why this model is slightly outdated. But like I said, as we jump on the computer, I'll show you how we basically modified it and enhanced it as time went on. So upmystreet.co.uk is the U section of the UGS. The second is Google. Okay, and you can just google.com, google.co.uk, whatever have you. Now, Google is the second strand that we basically use in terms of our evaluation process, and then the third thing is actually Zoopla. So you can see here the acronym UGS, which is what we basically use in order to start the process of actually doing headline figures and headline analysis on properties. So let's jump onto the computer and I'll show you exactly what I mean.
The first thing we want to do is go to the first site that we mentioned, which is the U in UGS, which is upmystreet.co.uk. Now, as mentioned earlier, this site was actually acquired by Zoopla a number of years ago. So what we use as a replacement now is checkmystreet.co.uk. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be using an address which is 115 Grove Road in E3 5RP. So all I have to do is put the postcode in here, E3 5RP. On the Check My Street website, I don't need to get too specific. But what will basically happen, as you can see, is straight away I get a map. Now, this is the first level of my kind of top level due diligence. So again, I'm not doing anything in depth in this video. It will take a lot longer to go into real depth as to what we do, but I just want to highlight the key things we can actually take out from looking at the UGS model when we are actually trying to work out or evaluate numbers on a property. So the first thing is Grove Road. That's the right road for me. That's the postcode. Grove Road falls within the council boundary of Tower Hamlets Council. The area had 19 reported crimes taking place in September 2018. So what Check My Street provides you is with again a high level analysis of the area, what's happening in the area, and it breaks it down into nearby train stations, nearby bus stops, average rental prices. Usually there's data populated here. I'm not sure why Grove Road doesn't have that, but it's all cool anyway. And again, you can see it says data from November. It then says average sold prices, when it populates here and gives you more information, local crime rates, and also the broadband speeds for those who are very, very into their internet. So again, you know, this is a high level analysis where you can basically just read through this information and get to grips with the area, start to understand, is this an area where you want to invest? If this is a property that you're sourcing and selling to someone else, where you can gather the information necessarily in order to share their local area information from an actual reliable source. Straight after that, the second part of the UGS model is actually Google. So what you'd actually do in Google is just actually type in the address. Okay, now by typing in the address, what that allows you to do is just again to kind of browse through a number of the links that will come up. Some of these links will be very pertinent in terms of the information that they will provide you with. Now, I'm not going to go into any of these links again because I want to try and keep the video to a fairly reasonable length, but I just want you to have a quick look at some of the websites that are coming up just as we go through that particular process of just googling the actual address, so you can start to get the feel of the kind of information that you could actually obtain just from googling an address. Now, the last thing that we'll do in the UGS model is actually go to the zoopla.co.uk website, and when I get here, I'll put the postcode in again, E3 5 Romeo Papa, and what I'm looking for is house prices and values, which I'll click here. Now, I'll say this now, what you traditionally find is a lot of people go straight on RightMove, search for the historic prices, and that's how they end up in the predicament, such as the Coachee, who left the message earlier, finding prices from 2010, finding prices from 2006. Now there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that those prices are so outdated, they're of no relevance. Whereas on Zoopla, using the checkmystreet.co.uk and also Google, you will probably find some more up-to-date information about the area, about the crime rates, and additionally about the prices. Now, it's not to say that any of these prices are, you know, hard and fast guaranteed numbers, and as I mentioned, in order to keep this video to a short length, we're just going through a kind of top level analysis. But in terms of just getting some quick due diligence done before you go on to some further due diligence, these are the kind of things you want to be looking at. Now, it says the current average value in that postcode is 674,162. Now, if I scroll down, I can get some kind of key information. And now, one of the things that I know about Grove Road, which again, those of you watching this might not know, is Grove Road is located in an area where a number of the houses have been split into flats. So if you look at 105, for example, you can see 105 is a flat, 1 bed, 1 bath, 2 receptions, and that basically has an estimate from Zoopla at 489. And then additionally, an additional flat, which is part of the 105, 105A, again is another flat. This is the one which has the leasehold, and this one is at 484. So what you can pick up straight away is that the flat components on this street basically go for just under 500,000 roughly. And again, bear in mind, this is an estimate. Now, because the property we're looking at is 115, I'll scroll down to that number specifically. Now, when I get to 115, as you can see, the valuation, the estimate is much higher. So that should indicate a few things. Now, if you haven't spotted it already, the first thing that should indicate is that this property is probably the full freehold building, which hasn't been split into flats as of yet. And what I can do at this point is I can click on it. Now, again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to highlight some of the key things which are information for you to take away. The first one is this is an estimate. So because it's an estimate, guys, please don't take these numbers and start making offers based on these numbers. These numbers are estimated, and in some cases they're actually quite inflated. So again, you don't want to just go hard and fast with these numbers. Now, Zoopla estimates that the property could come in at around £981,000, which is just a little bit shy of $1 million, and it gives a range of 893 to 1,070,000. Now, this is a massive range, okay guys, especially when you're buying property at this price. So because it's a massive range, you have to bear that in mind. Additionally, if you click this question mark here, it gives you some more information and says the Zoopla estimate is our assessment of the current market value of a property. Our data may be incomplete or inaccurate, and you can help to improve the accuracy by refining this estimate. Guys, the simple fact that it's saying that you can help to refine that process shows that any person can basically be involved in this process. So as a result, again, don't go hard and fast with these numbers. Now, he also shares with you the confidence level Zoopla has, which is 57%. In my opinion, this is a very, very low level of confidence. And the reason I'll share that with you is because using the Zoopla website, I've seen percentages as high as 87%, 93%, and probably higher in some cases as well. So again, bear in mind the confidence level. It shows you what Zoopla actually feels in terms of the confidence of the numbers they're giving you. Now, here are some of the key things to just utilize as you move forward. The last sold date, which you later on, as we got scrolled down, will actually find the last sold price as well, can be a very valuable metric for you. Now, in this case, the last time this particular property was registered as being sold, according to Zoopla, is 2002, which is roughly over 16 years ago. Side by side with that, you can see that since it's last sold, the estimate that Zoopla has is an increase of £611,000, which is a 165% increase on the actual previous sold price. So again, in terms of increase over that 16-year period, 17-year period, that is basically, you know, the estimate Zoopla makes. Now, if we scroll down, for those of you who need a mortgage calculator, you've got a mortgage calculator here where you can vary the variables and basically, you know, come up with some calculations if you need that. And this is powered by NatWest. So again, buying with these constraints, a 60% loan to value, 25-year term, and an interest rate at 2%, someone will be paying a £2,494 mortgage. So again, just little bits of information. The last piece of information I really want to bring your attention to is the sale history. So this basically gives you an indication that in 2000, this property sold for 266,000. 2 years later, it actually sold for 370,000. So again, this may be pertinent information, especially if this was really recent, because again, this could help you to negotiate or to speak to the seller and try to find out what they're actually looking for. Now again, it gives you a map, gives you a little breakdown. Now, one of the other key reasons why I use this UGS model is, again, additionally, because Zoopla obtained upmystreet.co.uk a number of years ago, they also started to embed this information in terms of their website. Now, this information is quite interesting, but one of the real pertinent lines is right here, where it says there have been 18 sales in the last 5 years on Grove Road. So what that means is, if I circumvent the approach that most people do and go straight to RightMove and start looking at sold prices on the street, and I come straight to Zoopla instead, I already know how much information I can obtain through means of RightMove. I already know that if RightMove is up to date over the last 5 years, I'm going to find 18 different properties. Now, again, bear in mind, some of them might be recent. An ideal metric is kind of in the last 6 months. Ideally, you want the last 3 months, and you definitely want what we call apples for apples. So what that means is, if you're looking at a 5-bedroom 3-story property, then you want a 5-bedroom 3-story property with the same amount of bathrooms, with the same amount of reception rooms. Now, the key is, the closer to the property you're looking at that you can get a comparable, the closer you should expect the value to be the same. Now, I'll go through a few other different websites that might be helpful for you. But, long story short, the UGS model is a great way to basically get just some top-down analysis. It's what me and my team use just so we can get a ballpoint figure. So I'll give you a clear example. If you're speaking to a seller, and a seller saying to you, like, look, I want 2 million for the property, and you can just follow this quick UGS process and realize that Zoopla is saying that the property is roughly worth 981,000, that already puts you in a position where you can be saying to that seller that that's not something that can work for you.
Hey guys, so I hope you found that helpful. Now, what I'm going to do in order to just add a little bit more value to you, because I know there's some people who are going to be watching this who are a little bit more advanced in terms of their property journey, so they want to see kind of maybe some other variables that you can actually throw into the mix in order to get more closer to the estimate that you're actually looking for. Now, besides the UGS model and the general kind of construction that we have there, there's a few other websites that I would recommend to basically use and browse as well. 2 of them are free portals. 1 of them is a subscription portal. You don't have to use it, but again, it just helps you get a bit of a feel and compiles an actual report for you. Now, the first additional website that I'll mention is the rightly guessed RightMove. And as you heard, it was mentioned throughout the whole time that I was basically scrolling on the computer. And the reason being is because RightMove is the largest portal online as it pertains to property. So it's useful to actually tap into RightMove, see some of the results that are on there as well. I didn't really want to start with RightMove today, because it's not actually part of the actual formula that we use, but at the same time, it is something that we always end up on as well. So RightMove is very key. The second one is one that not many people talk about, but again, a good place to look and see what's going on there as it pertains to property prices. Now, that is Mouseprice. Now, if you're in the UK market, Mouseprice is another portal which basically compiles data using various different metrics and brings them together to give you estimates. Now, again, just like we mentioned with Zoopla, just as I'll mention with RightMove, when estimates are being made, they are estimates. So guys, don't just buy into those estimates. So what I'll do is I'll put a link up here to a short video that I actually did a number of years ago, sharing the difference between a market value and a marketing value. And guys, although the video is short, it's really insightful. So it'll be good for you to have a watch at that and actually start to understand the difference between a market value and a marketing value. Now, the last website or portal that we'll share with you, besides RightMove and besides Mouseprice, is actually, as mentioned, Hometrack is actually a subscription website. So because it's a subscription website, it's not one of the free portals where you just jump on. One of the good things about Hometrack they'll actually compile a report from you which will give you some insight and analysis which you can actually use to understand the figures and actually the market variables a little bit more. Now, some people also use net house price, which again is another portal. We don't really end up using it at all, to be honest with you, but again, it's another portal that you can go and check out. Now, these are all the key things that we are basically using online in order to check house prices, to evaluate house prices, and make sure that we're not kind of lost as it pertains to 2010, 2006, and only getting prices from so long ago. Now, because everybody today likes easy, I'm going to share with you a few other easy ways for you to actually analyze property prices as well. Now, these ways are not utilizing online portals, because online is one way, but offline is a whole nother way. And I'm going to share with you 3 different people effectively who can actually support you in this endeavor. Now, the first one is the one that everybody thinks of, but in my opinion, usually the most unreliable in terms of their pricing, and that is the estate agent. Now, estate agents spend a lot of time with and around property. I know, because I used to be one. But the point is, an estate agent will put you in a position where they will give you, again, a marketing value, not necessarily always a market value. Now, if you've got a friend who's an agent, then that's a whole different matter. They might speak to you a bit plainly about the real value that that property will probably sell for, rather than the price that they would actually like to market it for. So look out for estate agents who are either in your contacts, or additionally go speak to agents in the local area where you're looking at property, so they can give you an indication of prices. Now, the second 2 groups of people I'm going to talk about will give you more accurate valuations, because they deal with property from a different angle. And the first one is a mortgage broker. Now, mortgage brokers generally are helping people through means of the underwriting process to actually finance property opportunities on a day-to-day basis. So what that basically means is they are dealing with properties from the numbers perspective. And because of that, they generally, especially if you're working with a really good broker, have a really strong finger on the pulse of the numbers. And last but not least is the person who, if they give you a figure, their figure 9 times out of 10 is probably the best figure to go by, and that is the surveyor. And quite simply, what you want to do is have groups of these people, or people who fall into these categories, in your actual Rolodex. Because what that will allow you to do, especially if you're actually investing in a particular area, is pick up the phone and have an offline conversation with a surveyor, with an estate agent, and or with a mortgage broker, and start to ask them about the pricing that they believe is appropriate in that area. Now, one of the great things that will happen is, if these people are actually active in the area where you're actually looking at these properties, they will probably be able to give you some really key figures in terms of what you're needing to move forward. Now, if they're from out of town and they're not in the area, then they probably won't give you some accurate estimates. But nonetheless, this is what I call the easy way. Now, the reason I share this at the end of the video is because, if I'm going to be totally honest, a lot of people think property is just really easy. And not only really easy, they share it like it's really easy. And what I want you to understand is, if you don't understand the fundamentals, if you don't know how to do the online searching and actually look at the numbers and start to work out averages, to work out a kind of ballpoint figure on the value of a property for yourself, there's really probably no point taking that next step to start wasting a surveyor's time, or to start wasting a broker's time, or to start wasting an estate agent's time. You need to be the kind of person who, when you work with these other people, you're actually going to be efficient, move forward, and help them basically achieve what they're trying to achieve in their actual work role additionally. So I want you guys to start thinking about how you can start looking at numbers in a different perspective, becoming confident with those numbers yourself, and then equally sharing your understanding with these other partners. That wraps us up for the end of this video. If you like the video, feel free to press like. Be one of those people who adds to our group of subscribers, and subscribe if you felt that it was of value to you. And why not share this video with your friends, family, and fans if you got other people that you know who will find this video content of value. And last but not least, why don't you hit that bell notification to make sure you stay up to date with all the new content that we release. This is Samuel signing out. Have a great day. So we need a better pen. Yeah, figure 9 times out of 10 is probably the most and best number to actually go through and go by. Now, one of the great things that will happen is if these people are actually, now one of the probably no point taking that next step to start wasting a surveyor's time, becoming confident with those numbers yourself, and then